What's poppin', y'all? Looking for revenge all summer 16. Those quotes ring true today, and those were in 2016 after the Meek Mill and Drake beef, which was a devastating hit to Drake's legacy and career when he was exposed as having ghostwriters. And in this situation, we have Drake not looking for revenge necessarily, but what I believe to be one of the hidden themes of ICEMAN is rewarding loyalty. And I wrote about this a couple of different times. The first and most obvious, of course, is the Joseph Goebbels to Drake, the right hand to Drake, the mouthpiece, director of propaganda, academics, biggest media platform supporting him and getting snubbed by him. Meanwhile, he shows up on Aiden Ross streams, XQC streams, calls Kai Cenat after academics spent 15 hours DJing Drake's entire catalog. He was academics dip from my live. He finally gave academics the recognition he deserved. He flew him out. He brought him to a restaurant, had him as a part of the ICEMAN rollout, put a chain on him, everything. So that's the first thing. But there's a lot more to it than just that. And I think ICEMAN is an appreciation album for all of the close people in his life. So first off, one of the recent things that has happened in the NBA world is KD releases a new shoe. And in that release, Drake shows up in the video for the advertisement for it.
Yo, you want to see the new shoes?
Come on, obviously.
Check these out.
Okay. Wow. First thought, transcending the game. It's like you need a banjo for those. Those are crazy. This guy went home on the range with it. Wow. You're in 2038 with those. These are jeez.
Come on, bro. It's a joke. I can't hoop in these.
Nah, obviously. I know that.
This the real thing.
Wow. This guy's the abominable snowman. Those are hard. This guy's trying to dominate the Alaskan market. You got to keep the ankles warm. Ying, 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 ying. I see the jumper. It's great. Those are crazy.
Yo, what's wrong with you, bro? You think I would wear these? Are you even a real friend, bro?
I thought you were taking it somewhere else, on some fashion.
Are you a yes man, bro?
What? No, no. I'm supporting my brother. Obviously, if you're going there, I'm going with you.
I'm gonna stop playing on it. These are it. These candies.
The candies?
These the ones.
Jeez, the candies! The candy man's home. Ow. Oh, wait, did I just get a cavity? Someone called a dentist. Oh my goodness, bro. You know how many people are gonna be copping this off the shelves? They're gonna be like, shh, give me that. Are you dumb? Are you stupid or are you dumb? Which one? These are fire flames. I need these. Asa, what other colors? Tell me. Yo.
So we know Drake and KD are tight. They are locked in. That's twinning them. And KD has never said anything. We don't even know if we've ever seen him in the same vicinity as Kendrick Lamar being played. God forbid him dancing to it like we saw LeBron, who Drake has tatted on him, has been to his son's high school games, was tapped in with them, thought they've done business together, thought they were good friends, all of that. And in that clip, when he looks towards the camera, Drake, I think he's taking some shots at LeBron, but he's also rewarding KD by showing up in his commercial. And I wrote on X and I said, the theme of Drake this year is rewarding loyalty. Normalize glazing the bros. He just linked up with KD for the commercial for his new shoe. Is it any surprise that this is after LeBron's disgusting betrayal and KD's continued support? That was a disgusting betrayal by LeBron. The fact that he showed up to the pop out, number one, and how much he was supporting Kendrick is dude, you could have just fell back and not said anything. You didn't have to show up. You and Kendrick are not locked in. You guys are not boys. You guys are not family. Nothing of the sort. And then I said, academics is also somebody Drake has finally rewarded with a chain, and including him in the ICEMAN release. And Aiden Ross gets his own line in the music. So he drops an Aiden Ross bar, which he uses to diss Rick Ross. So there's, not only is he rewarding the loyalty of an Aiden Ross, but he's using that to take stones and cast them at somebody who wasn't loyal to him despite all that he had done for him in Rick Ross. And Drake is even showing up to Aiden Ross's live fighting event that's supposed to happen on May 23rd in Las Vegas at the UFC arena. It's a huge fight. So that's that. Right? And then I think Drake might be performing at Rolling Loud. So on a separate one I wrote, Drake is rewarding loyalty this year. That's clear with the rollout. In Whisper My Name, he raps, "We turned up Coachella, had boys backing down, and we might do the same if we touch Rolling Loud." Aiden Ross has been one of Drake's biggest supporters throughout this beef. He got shouted out on a song, like I just said, and he refuses to even let Kendrick Lamar play. He won't have Kendrick playing around him. He says Drake won the beef, completely delusional. He's playing Drake nonstop, saying Drake is the GOAT, saying Drake's better than Jay-Z. He doesn't say Drake's better than Ye. That would be blasphemous. That's outrageous. Not even Aiden would say that. But he doesn't have Kendrick around him whatsoever. And a couple of months ago, he was on a live stream with his friend Cuffham that he brought him. I believe this was to the Young Boy show, and saying that Drake needed to perform at Rollin' Loud because he's never done it.
I'm not gonna lie. Yo, Drake got to do Rollin' Loud one time, bro.
Yo, Max, I send an offer to Drake every year.
You do?
Yeah.
Is it public or no?
What? Yeah.
The number?
Oh, we send them our max offer. Millions of dollars.
You guys should do a wireless thing. Gave him 3 days.
That was my idea. Actually, it was Matt's idea. My bad. It was Matt's idea. But we offered Drake for wireless. That's hard.
Yo, you know Rolling Loud offered Drake 3 nights, like headline. The same thing Wireless did. That would have been lit.
Before wireless offer. But he loves wireless, bro. He loved going to London and shit.
Yeah.
So that's one of the co-founders of Rollin' Loud. And he said that they offer Drake the maximum amount every year, and he's never taken up the offer. And then the last time, interestingly enough, I had to look this up, that Kendrick Lamar performed at Rollin' Loud, he was headlining. And that was in 2022 in Miami. I think that was July or something like that. And this was 2 months after Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers release, which was the first album that Kendrick Lamar dropped in 5 years after Damn. So it makes sense why he was doing Rollin' Loud. Rollin' Loud was a big part of Kendrick's comeback in 2022. So he seems to perform at Rollin' Loud, at least judging from the last performance in 2022. And after the whole Mr. Morale tour and everything that had to do with that album, he fell back until this beef, of course. And then GNX, which followed the beef. But he didn't perform at any Rollin' Loud in 2024. Or 2025. And we haven't seen him booked for any Rolling Loud in 2026 either, when it would have been at its peak for them to get him. So did they just not offer it to him? Because he was doing festivals everywhere. I mean, he did the Super Bowl, he was doing his own tour, he was doing festivals. It would have made sense. And this is the biggest hip-hop festival. So to crown yourself at the biggest hip-hop festival and perform Not Like Us, that would be a huge moment. That's what the culture would be feeling. So what I think happened, and this is complete, I have no source telling me this. This is why I don't like to talk to people, to sources or anything like that, because I get to just come up with these things just like you guys. So my theory, completely unsubstantiated other than what we have here, is that Rollin' Loud might have been showing loyalty to Drake and saying like, listen, we've already had Kendrick. Do we want to bring Kendrick on right now and ruin our opportunity of ever having Drake again? Or do we want to just hold off and, hopefully that happens. And maybe he's willing to finally perform on their stage. And Aiden Ross, he's asking him. Aiden Ross, who's been loyal. Academics, who's been loyal. Rollin' Loud, who've been loyal. They're all asking him to perform at Rollin' Loud. And he teases it. We might do the same if we touch Rollin' Loud. Then there's another individual that I wouldn't say is like necessarily loyal to Drake, because he's a fan of just rap music in general. But he is somebody that has always shown Drake love for over a decade, and probably one of the most inspired rappers by Drake in the breadth of music that he makes, and that's Russ. I said Russ has consistently said that Drake is his favorite rapper, and on Hasta La Vista, which was one of the leaks that dropped right before ICEMAN, Drake finally gives him his recognition, and he raps, and people are overly invested in what happens to Drake, but nobody invested like us. The way things are going up, I might start posting all my publishing checks like Russ. Drake could finally relate to the level of hate and mischaracterization of someone like Russ.
Like, Drake's my favorite artist. I'm not about to complain if Drake is like, I'm putting out a song a week for 3 months.
Right.
Be like, what? Hell yeah.
Like, oh, it's too much.
Yeah, no one, the only people who feel like, yo, but what about oversaturating? You're not a fan. Shut up. I don't care about you.
You know what's wild about that, man,
like,
is
if you were a fan, you wouldn't care what I'm doing.
So when Drake was experiencing it firsthand from all the PDF allegations and people wishing him such ill will on those around him, even his own family and child. From 2017 to 2020, Russ was arguably the most hated rapper. At least with Drake, there was maybe fake love. With Russ, it was pure hate. And so much so that people were wishing that he had died instead of other rappers when they would pass away. Like this tweet that I brought up, RIP Juice WRLD, it should have been Russ. This was a common theme, and there were a lot of rappers dropping like flies at that time. Every single time, the whole thing whenever somebody died was, damn, it should have been Russ. It should have been Russ. Imagine that. And Russ would talk about this in an interview with The Breakfast Club.
I feel the same way.
And
man.
that's why I call the album Zoo. This zoo that is fame and whatever is not a place for breeding healthy minds.
It's nasty out here.
It's
right
disgusting.
Now.
So it's like,
you know,
I'm not into
anxiety
this.
is the #1 disease.
I'm sure it is. And so
right
when people are saying should have been you, it's like cute. Y'all are people on Twitter making jokes about, should have been you, whatever. But you know what's really screwed up is that y'all are the same people who will rob someone of their peace of mind while they're alive, but when they die, wish them to rest in peace.
Right.
How you gonna wish that I rest in peace, but you don't want me to live in peace? How do you figure that? So y'all are fake.
Now, rappers like Smoke Perp struggling to perform in front of 7 people. Lil Pump, he's relegated to just 6ix9ine territory. I'm not going to say he's struggling in terms of monetary or anything like that, but he's just going to be a guy that performs. Get that guy to perform like D-Rose and Gucci Gang. Okay, yeah. Performing 2017 songs. And all of the other SoundCloud, face-tattooed, Xan-addicted rappers are struggling to have any of their albums stream as much as a Russ loose single. So it's really never over, and you always got to keep pushing. That's all you can do. And this shows Russ with a bunch of different deposits that he's getting as publishing checks. And I also think that not only is this a shout out to Russ, because he says people are overly invested in what happens to Drake. People were overly invested in what happens to Russ. That was like the theme of his album Zoo. But he says nobody invested like us. So I think he's talking about his close circle, because Russ has a very close circle to him and his man's Boogus. They came up together. I think Russ said he started rapping because his homie Boogus was a rapper already. And he's like a really good rapper. He's a guy on Diamond. He's doing, I think, like a bit more Afrobeat type of stuff. Really talented guy. If you haven't listened to him, you should check out his stuff. So I think he's talking about like, yo, I'm keeping my circle close like Russ as well. But this is just several examples of loyalty that Drake is rewarding. And also in production. Like the producers on this album, a lot of them are Drake's close producers and friends for many, many years. He's not going out there and just getting who's hot right now. A claim could be made, well, if he's rewarding loyalty and all that, then why is Future on there? At best, you could say Future was lukewarm during the beef, but really, he moved on Drake. What I think Future is a business decision. I think Drake knows that he needs to at least have ties to Atlanta, and Future is the perfect guy for that, especially since Young Thug's stock isn't doing too hot. Now, he's tight with Young Thug. Young Thug has always shown support to Drake. I don't even think he played Kendrick Lamar. Said, we don't listen to that boy, something like that. But Future, his name is clean in these streets. And I think the whole FBG, OVO, we're brothers stuff that was going on at What a Time to Be Alive, I think that's over. I think Drake internally knows this guy Future is not my mans. We're not boys like that, but we are business associates, and he's going to maintain the relationship in that regard and not be too concerned with thinking that he's his friend and just treat him as a collaborator. Now, I think Future is eager, especially seeing how poppin' Drake is again. He's eager to benefit from it as well. And I don't think his perception on Drake changes at all, because he's always looked at him this way if he was willing to hop on a track that was dissing him like that. No pun intended. But yeah, that's all I got to say about the situation. There's a lot more things I can say about ICEMAN, and I will get to them. So stay tuned, and I'm see you on the next one.